Warning, this keyboard is super sus. Tread lightly. Today, we're going to build a keyboard that nobody asked for. So our inspiration comes from looking at keycaps in AliExpress. And I suppose if you scroll through long enough, you do end up finding a set that's pretty interesting. These are Ahegao keycaps. And yes, they exist. Oh god, that's the nav cluster. So the keycaps are made of thick PBT and the printing is dye sublimated. So I expect these to be of good quality even at their cheap prices. It's just that these are only compatible with 60%, TKL or full-size boards, nothing in between, so we're gonna have to find either of those three. Okay, there's an even worse keycap set. I can feel grease seeping through my skin, so let's just move on. After scrolling through for about an hour, I did end up finding a receptacle for our keycaps. This is the Womier K87, a TKL that's made of sandwiched translucent acrylic to let through this RGB lighting. And it's decently priced too, with hot swappability and coming with Gateron switches. So let's pick yellows, add to cart. Though I think we can find better switches for our K87. These would go super well with our RGB. Oh, it's a linear. Tactile. I think we found our perfect switch. It's the MMD... Gucci? No, Kokoche. These are a tactile switch that claim to be like holy pandas. We'll see about that. But importantly, they have the transparent top and bottom housing, and they're cheap, so let's get these. And finally, it's not a keyboard build without a mouse mat. Now I have to be careful with picking the right design. Well, I mean, for obvious reasons, but I don't want the mouse mat to take attention away from our keyboard, so basically nothing too busy. This isn't Ahegao per se, but more Gesugao, the red eyes, evil stare kind of face. And I think it's simple enough that it doesn't draw too much attention away from our keyboard, so yeah, I like it. It's got that something that I need. And I think that's everything. Great. They've arrived. Now, these are printed quite sharply and a thick PBT as well, so these should sound good. It's just that these don't have any legends on them, so touch typing is necessary. Oh wow. So this is the Womier K87. These yellows, they feel kind of rough. No! These are browns? Really? I guess if you press slowly, you can feel the tactile bump. It's just so tiny. But then I have hammers for hands, so they do suit some people, or maybe a lot. Ooh. Dude! That is disgusting. No way! That is sick! God, I feel like such a weeb. Even though the print isn't the sharpest, there are effects on it which kind of hides it well. Lastly, the coochies. Ooh! Are these what holy pandas feel like? These have a 63-gram spring and are decently tactiled, with a bump that lasts throughout most of the travel, which encourages you to bottom out. These almost feel like one of my favorite keyboards in my collection. On disassembling the keyboard, we can see it's of a simple construction, consisting of 3 acrylic layers. Perhaps we can fill this already small space for a throatier sound. Let's plug up the stabilizer mounts, as well as the switch holes by pre-installing the kokuchis and these holes on a PCB, all to stop this stuff leaking. Silicone Mod. It's a mix of 2 parts, 1-to-1, and unbeknownst to the outcome, let it rip. The 1 day later, it's still wet for some reason, but oh my god. I shouldn't have left this thing upside down. And yet, at the back of my mind, I want to see this extreme silicone mod all the way through. You're welcome. Lucky that it's pretty easy to clean. After doing a welfare check on the PCB, let's go again. This time, using switches that I particularly don't care about. As a way of preventing leaks from the USB port, this silicone gasket maker is blotted around it. And like life itself is closing in, it's quickly sealed in place. Turned around the right way this time. Though it looks like it isn't enough. How did it leak again? It appears these holes are for PCB mounted stabilizers, but we have plate mounted ones instead. I totally knew that all along. Just forgot to plug them. So while I clean these stabs up, perhaps 3rd time's the charm? A layer of tape under the bottom sheet should make disassembling it easier. Then it's turned the right side up. Finally. Mind you, some seepage here unintentionally looks like those foam switch pads. Could they serve that purpose? Probably not. And if they do, it's inconsistent throughout. Let's finally move on. The stabilizers. They rattle like hell, so we'll need some work. Despite the nice thought of lubing them in factory, we need to get rid of it with some degreaser, like isopropyl. Our list of mods include tuning the stabilizer bars, basically straightening them, clipping the sliders so their bottoms are flat, and sticking a thin layer of plaster between these sliders and stab bars. Perhaps extra plaster under the slider housings may stop them from rattling. Then all sliding parts are lubed with Krytox 205G0 grease. The Ahegao keyboard looks decent as is for providing glow to the Ahegao, but weeks of sipping Mountain Dew led me to this idea. Anime shock line thingies. But the sticker paper doesn't seem to be playing blue balls. I did manage to find black vinyl wrap, and it's now set to look the part. Ah, good. The cutters arrived, but they feel dry. A little lube will go a long way. So each and every one of them is stripped, sorting out each component. What's worrying are not 2, but 3 different springs found in my set. Make note, all these springs are thrown in a bag and oiled up with Krytox GPL 105 and given the wang. Can you tell which one's which? And so the pain of lubing each switch commences, at all contact points except the legs, as you risk smoothing out their tactility. These anime lines first need to be trimmed before installing our stabilizers. Except, well, look at this. Oh god, there is a last resort, I guess. After fitting the keycaps, our current mousepad doesn't seem to complement the oozing pus that is the Ahegao. Good thing we've got a backup. Oh my god, no! And as a sort of custom keyboard tradition, we should also decorate the back of it. The Ahegao may be powerful, but I have my heart set on the one and only. Normally, this is the part where I'd say I'm happy with whatever I built, but this room stinks. Stickiness aside, the Aromier became the perfect base for our build, showcasing the anime shock lines and mighty Ahegao under a menacing red glow. And with the help of thick keycaps, lubed holy cutters, and a jammy Silicone Mod, it's got that marbly sound signature. Though to be fair, my lubing skills are audibly inconsistent, and the stabilizers simply need to be put down, so there's room for improvement. I'd change a few things if there was a next time. For one, no more of the gloopy shite. Just throw in dollops of tape and some switch pad foam. It simply isn't worth it. Then I'd personally use Kale box clicky switches, which sounds like heresy, I know, but tactiles aren't my favorite in general. So for now, we're just left with this keyboard and a mouse mat and this hoodie. This is the budding engineer, and thank you for joining me on this journey to heresy. Thanks for watching, and pray for me.